what's your plan going ahead? And I kind of just had to tell them, I had to go, look, I know this is going to sound crazy. Give me 1 to 2 years, and I promise you, I will be full time, making enough money. I can move out of this house, go do my own thing.
Welcome, everyone, to the 4th episode of Outside the Grind. We have the always fun, always chatty Bass. How are we feeling today, Bass?
I'm feeling good. I think chatty's a good descriptor. I think that's probably the best way that you can describe me. If you gave me all day, we'd probably be here all day. But I'm honestly honored to be on this. I've watched every single one of the episodes. It's been really cool to kind of learn more about what literally are my friends, and now you kind of get in a deep dive. And honestly, hoping I can provide some deep dives for you guys today too, as well. I'm hoping some people get to know, beyond, like you said, Bass the caster, more Bass is the person, Oliver Bass, if you will.
That's right. And Bass just talked about it, but we were kind of chatting before we jump in here, and he and I get into a call semi-regularly, and sometimes it will go 3+ hours, and we'll eventually just have to be like, look, we have to stop. So this may be a long episode. We'll see how it goes. But the first thing I wanted to say, and I wanted to say this before, but I figured I would save it for the episode here. I love the new setup. Love the background. You recently moved into a new place, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. My girlfriend and I just moved in. We actually have our 1 year coming up in 2-3 weeks, something like that. So we just moved in, just got the whole thing set up. This is like an office that we now have. Last place that I was at, we had it was like in my room basically was my setup, and that was the main priority moving into a new place. It was like, I need a dedicated area to be able to work on this type of stuff. So you can see it's not just my setup, but hold up, how do I point? That's also her setup back here as well.
Oh,
so
okay.
we got 2 setups, so that we can play together as well, which is I appreciate it, man. It took a while. Finally got all the lights in, as you can see. Got the unfortunately fake plants. I would put real plants, but my cats will eat them.
The cats, dude, kidding. I feel it.
Dude, they will literally. She's been digging up my. Anyways, that's not the point. But yes, thank you. I appreciate it. The background's starting to come together, and I'm glad that you noticed and people are starting to take notice.
Yeah, it's beautiful, man. It's also beautiful that you two are moving in together, and so just tell us a little bit about that. How did y'all meet? And give us some insight on your relationship.
So my girlfriend Cass and I met through actually a dating app. We shout out Hinge. It's like the one dating app that has not been horrible for me. I actually enjoyed my time on there because they have very personalized questions, so it made it very easy. We met through that, and literally just kind of clicked immediately. The first day we ever went on, we went to the Strip because I just moved to Vegas, and I was like, all right, you're local, show me what's up. And she's like, this will be the one time we go to the Strip. I'm never going back ever again. She hates it, despises it, but we met through that, just kind of clicked immediately. She more or less lived at my old place because she was there all the time. And eventually we just kind of went, hey, why don't we just try and get a place that's going to be a lot easier for the both of us? And lo and behold, it's worked out fantastically. I mean, yeah, I love Cash. She's one of my favorite people on this planet. So shout out Cash. She's probably going to end up watching this and being like, wow, you really had to talk all about me, huh? Really? Huh?
That's so incredible, man. I mean, I had the opportunity to meet her for just a brief moment there in San Diego, and she's really sweet.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, shout out to Cass. That's awesome. It's really cute that y'all have setups in that office together. I feel like, I'm gonna be honest, I feel like that's something that a lot of people fantasize. Like, you see like the viral TikToks, right? Like the couples and they're playing games together and stuff. Like, that's so sweet.
I mean, that's part of where it's like I really, again, shout out Hinge, is that you can put in interest and talk about stuff. Yeah. And I don't hide the fact that I work in esports. I think it's something that, I just do it too often, especially with I work in APAC where the hours are from 2 a.m. until like 8 a.m. I can't really be like, hey, so I'm just not going to be available this weekend because I'm going to be staying up every night. It's like I have to be pretty upfront with that. And so when we first started talking, I was, we were talking about video games and all this type of stuff. And she's like, what do you do for a job? And I say, okay, I actually work in video games. She's like, what do you mean? And I'm like, okay, I work in competitive, esports. And she goes, oh my gosh, are you a player? And I go, no, I'm not a player. First answer as soon as I say not a player. Okay, so you're a caster then. I'm just like,
oh, okay.
Like, whoa. Why do you know what that is? What do you do? Huh? Like, where did you get that from? But she's been super supportive of all of that. I eventually learned she's been into video games since she was like a little kid. She's been a huge Nintendo head. Like, she's got Game Boys, DS's, Switch, all that jazz. And so she's been super into like video games for a long time. So I made it also a priority when we did get into this place. I already had my setup. That desk is new for her. The monitor is new for her. All of that is like stuff that we've been trying to set up. And the viral fantasy is I've never really thought about it at that. Like, It kind of is. It's very cool to be able to play video games with my girlfriend. I'm
Oh,
not
yeah.
even gonna front.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Super excited for you about the new place. Excited for you and Cass.
Thank you.
And I'm not gonna lie, a little jealous of the setup and everything. So we'll keep it rolling though. With that being said, I like to kind of rewind and back it way up. You talked about Cass being a gamer for a long time. So run us back through your childhood. Is gaming always been a part of your life, or is this something that's newer, like in your 20s and whatnot?
It's kind of a 50-50 for me. I was definitely a gamer when I was a kid, but I don't think it was the same as what I was now, where it's like, PC setup, like super invested in like the online communities and stuff. That kind of hit when I became a teenager. When I first got into video games and stuff, it was like, I want to say old arcade games combined with like some of the Nintendo stuff,
Yeah.
DSs were the first way that I really like got into video games like as a
Okay.
whole, and then we ended up getting a Wii. And then, funny enough, my mom let somebody stay at her place because she has a downstairs unit for a while. He
Yeah.
left his Xbox and all the games, and that's where it just kind
Ooh.
of it shot off from there. I
Okay.
was doing everything. Skate 3 was on that original console, and it has been my favorite game since. That is
Yeah.
like that's the one that hooked me. And then when I got into high school, I ended up getting a gaming laptop at the time. So it was like, I don't have a desktop. I need something to bring to school because, when I was going to high school, you needed a laptop in order to like actually do classes and stuff.
Yeah.
So I could either rent one from the school or I could try to get my own. I wanted something I could play games on, so I got a gaming laptop that I don't recommend if you're trying to get into gaming. Please just get
Right.
a desktop and like get a laptop separately. There's like horrible laptops out there that'll do fine enough in school. Don't do what I did, but it worked out because I ended up getting into a lot more stuff. I had like friends on like Discord, Skype, and TeamSpeak where I was all like meeting people, going to do a bunch of stuff. And then I think the big games that kind of hooked me in high school were like Overwatch, CS:GO, and I'm trying to think. There's like mainly a bunch of like random what are they called? Roguelikes, like, like
Oh,
Binding of
okay.
Isaac, Risk of Rain, stuff like that. I
Yeah.
love little indie games like that. That
Yeah.
stuff is just peak for me. So yeah, it's kind of all over the place. Rocket League didn't really come into the picture until like 2018. I bought the game when it originally came out. My
Mhm.
computer was not good enough to play it. And then when I kind of got back into it was when I was back in college when a friend of mine showed it to me, and then it just took off from there.
Dude, that specific scenario is so common with Rocket League players.
Yep.
Like they either tried it or they saw it and they didn't have initial interest, and then a friend, and I feel like college specifically, I don't know why, but that age seems to be like a really popular one as well. Somebody shows them. It's definitely what happened to me. I mean, I didn't play
Mm.
games at all, really. I was like Pokemon when I was a kid. Went through a Guitar Hero phase.
Yeah,
Um,
I know that. I know that. You beat the absolute heck out of me in Guitar Hero in LA. I remember this vividly. You're like, "Oh, I'm
oh
okay at
yeah, I
Guitar
forgot
Hero." We get
the
into the
arcade
head-to-head, and
game.
he's just
Yeah.
like, "Hard, literally as best that I'm like sitting around here, everybody else around me is like, "You got played." And I'm just sitting here like, "Yeah."
Dude, I used to grind so hard on Guitar Hero. But yeah, that concept of like someone showing you Rocket League, and then
Mhm.
I feel like as soon as you do give it a try, or like you give it a little bit of like your effort and energy, it just freaking hooks you immediately, and there is no turning back. Like
Mhm.
the race is on.
It's just it's a great. I think part of it is also when you're like a kid. I think the more popular genre would be either like truly sports games, like
Yeah.
FIFA, 2K, stuff like that, and then just shooters, like first person, third person shooters. Oh, I will say, Fortnite also had a lot of my attention. I was,
Yeah.
my claim to fame was that I was in the top 1% of Fortnite players for the
Ooh.
first like I think 4 seasons that it was out,
Okay.
and then I just kind of turned away from it because I got kind of bored of the game and
Yeah.
was just like, I'll move on. But yeah, like the one thing I will say is that like Rocket League is not a game that you're gonna focus on if you're a kid, unless you're like got somebody who's like, "Hey, you should really try this out. It's fun." Because
Mhm.
again, talking to Cass about it, trying to get her into it, she's like, "This is not rewarding. You have to
True.
grind hundreds of hours before you're
Yeah.
starting to really feel like your mechanics are good."
Yeah.
And unless the concept initially gets you, it's very hard to like sell, "Hey, you're gonna suck at this for a while. It's not gonna be great, but
Right.
once it is great, it's the best thing you've ever played." Like that's a
Yeah.
very hard sell for people unless they're just mechanically gifted. I had a shout out a while ago for one of the RL players, Smokes,
Smokes.
who is
Yeah.
just good at video games. Apparently, he's $20,000 earned in COD across the board, and then he picks up Rocket League, and it's like, "Oh, I'm a pro now."
Dude,
I wish I could do that. Most
yeah.
people are not that, so Rocket League's kind of a tough sell sometimes.
That concept of players like being pro in multiple things is already
Mhm.
impressive, but typically it happens like across first person shooters, right? Overwatch to Valorant, Valorant to CS:GO, blah blah blah. For him to jump from a first person shooter to Rocket League, Smokes is crazy, and
I don't get it.
his rate of improvement, wild. Like he hit SSL, and then like a year and a half later, he's playing in RLCS regionals. Like, bro, that's absurd.
I don't understand it. Yeah, I don't have that type of natural capability. Like that's
No.
why it's like the Fortnite thing is like the one thing I brag about because it's like, oh,
Yeah.
I was good at a video game for a very small amount of time, and then professional scene took off, and
Yeah.
I will say that's
Too
part of what
much.
got me into Rocket League though is
Yeah.
the professional scene itself. Esports has always been an interest of mine. The first ever LAN I went to was when I was like 15. It was IEM
Okay.
Oakland because I grew up in the Bay Area,
Yeah.
and we ended up going to that, and that just kind of hooked me on esports for the rest of my life. So like when I get into a video game, I love to check out the competitive scene. I think it's a
What
really like big thing for me.
what game was it?
It was CS:GO. CS:GO
Okay.
was the first ever esports scene that really got me into it. I will preface this. This was back when it was like the height of the skin phase and the gambling phase and all that stuff. So
Yeah,
we're like,
yeah.
bet a 30-cent skin on this match. Let's see if they maybe win it, all this type of stuff. And then going to it in person though, the gambling stopped and just the watching began. I was just like,
Mhm.
oh, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen. Like these guys were, again, fascination with people being good at video games because I'm
Yeah.
very much not. I know I'm.
Yeah. Yeah, it's that I think when you have the knowledge of like when you have the fundamental or the base level knowledge where you understand what it takes to be that good, even if you're
Mm.
not able to do it, I think it's very similar to traditional sports where a lot of people play it in pee wee, youth, high school, whatever. They have like a grasp of, they understand how impressive it is when Steph Curry is bopping threes from 2 steps in front of the
Yeah, that's
half
Steph.
court line, right? Like sure, I can't do it, but I understand that is crazy impressive. And it's the same thing here for video games as well. So you're talking about the LAN, all the way back at 15. What are some other interests that you had outside of video games growing up and even now?
So I was a big sports kid. It's very
Mm,
funny. I kind of bounced all over the place. My dad loved to call me a jack of all trades just because
yeah.
I was friends with all the nerdy kids who were playing video games and stuff like that. I was watching friends, do unboxing videos and stuff like that while I'm in high school. And then outside of that, I was also the team captain for soccer and for baseball at my high school. Like it's
Okay.
just like it's this sort of like balance between all of them. I played pretty much everything when I was a kid. I didn't really play a ton of basketball, but I still played some basketball.
Yeah.
Really big into soccer, really big into baseball. I played a lot of lacrosse up until I got to high school. That's where I stopped
Cross.
because
Okay.
yeah, the big thing is this is my whole family. My whole family is
Yeah.
D1 athletes, or at least my parents were. My mom founded the soccer team at Maryland where she went. My
Whoa.
dad went to Rutgers on a D1 lacrosse scholarship, was the captain of the team when they were fourth in the country.
Whoa.
Fourth in the country. My grandfather was an NBA player. My other grandfather like ran track. Yeah, everybody in my
What?
family's really good at athletics, and I'm sitting here as the video game nerd. So I hear constantly from my parents, "Hey, what if you got into normal sports?" And I'm just like, "No, that's not happening. I appreciate it, but no."
I prefer to sit here in front of the computer and shout
That's what
about
I'm
the
saying.
games.
I worked out. I'm fine. I
Yeah.
just don't do sports anymore. I think that cut off at like high school, but all the way from when I was like a little kid, I was doing like pee wee soccer, little league baseball, all of that until eventually I got out of high school, and my options were either play on club, which is already a ton of time, and I wasn't really enjoying college, so
Yeah.
I just didn't really want to do more stuff that I was just gonna be like on, or try to go on to a varsity team, and I was not good enough to get on a varsity. I knew that
Yeah.
for a fact. I was not going on any team on any school in this country. I knew that, so that's where I kind of just stopped playing. But up until about 18 or 19, I was playing religiously. Like most of my year was spent doing sports.
Yeah. I can totally relate to that. That's definitely how I was. Sports and competition just consumed my entire life as a kid, and I don't have any regrets about it. I loved it. I loved being active. I loved competing. I loved being a part of a team. Something like representing something that's just more than you is so rewarding, right? Like you have this group of people that collaborate and work hard together, and you put in all this time and effort and achieve a common goal, and it's really special. It's like I said, it's very rewarding. Anything other than sports? I know you played some games here and there, and obviously as you got older, it sounds like you got more into the games. But is there anything else? I know there's a lot of people that ended up doing some music or
See, I'm like you, where I wish I had spent more of my
yeah,
childhood. You
yeah,
mentioned that. I want to say in either the Fear or the Nito episode where you're talking
yeah,
about how it's like you dabbled in music, but you never really got into it.
yeah,
Similar for me. I really wish that I had gotten further into music. I played the drums. I like had a music teacher who I really liked and who she really liked me. I'd spend like every recess in there learning how to play drums,
yeah,
but I never like got into a marching band. I never really pursued it elsewhere. My dad always talked to me about trying to get me a drum kit, but that never really happened because
Yeah.
he had one of his kids who was like, "Oh, it'd be fun for you," and then he realized drum kits are very loud, and he was like,
Yeah.
and so that just never really came to be. But I was always a music person. I really fell in love with music when I got into college, though. That's when it's
Yeah.
like I was just starting to get into music in high school. I was really into a bunch of different stuff, mostly like indie and like indie rock stuff. And then
Yeah.
when I got to college, it just everything.
Took
Hip
off.
hop, indie pop, pop, rock, metal, just a little bit of everything. And it just kind of turned into where I've got my music taste now. It's very specific, but yeah, music didn't really hit for me as a kid. It was more something that like as I grew older and started to figure out my taste in music, that's when it like
Yeah.
really started to develop.
When I was when I was younger, I definitely loved music, but I think my appreciation for it has grown tremendously. I think
Yeah.
like I enjoyed it, but it was like very surface level. It was like I enjoyed the radio bops. I enjoyed things
Mm,
that I could blast and like had like one or two catchy like metaphors or something. It's like a couple good rhymes. I didn't really care about like a message or anything like that. And now I'm not saying I don't. I still do like that kind of music, but I have like greater appreciation for some of the stuff that's like just
mhm.
very thematic. It's almost like like a play or something where there's like a full scene
Do you
that they're
listen to full
creating.
albums?
Say it
Are
again.
you a full
I
album type of
I
guy where you
I
go like
do.
front to back on the cover?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
All right, I
Yeah.
like that. Yeah,
I wasn't
respect,
though.
respect.
That's
Oh,
kind
okay.
of what we're talking about. Like when we were younger, I didn't do that, and then as I got older and kind of got a little more into. I mean, dude, I think it's. I feel weird saying this, but it's like research, like deep
Yeah.
listening to music. Like not just hearing it, but like listening and trying to learn more. Like what are they saying? What ideas are they conveying? I find it so interesting and admirable. A lot of these artists are I've said this before, but they're being very vulnerable and taking you on a very personal journey,
Mhm.
into their life. So you have alluded to listening to quite a few different types of music, and I
Mhm.
know from some of our own private conversations, we talked a lot about like your
Send
record
vinyl.
collection and stuff like that.
Yeah, I gotta send you
So
vinyl. I knew you were gonna bring this up.
so I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna say I want you to give us 5 albums, and they could be from any genre, any artist, whatever like that. But just give us 5 like suggestions or recommendations, just 5 that you like, they hit home for you. You like these, and you would love to share them with the world. Take your time. No need to rush.
Are we okay? Are you talking vinyl that I own, or are
That's
you talking just albums?
anything. It could be an album. It could be a
Okay.
vinyl you own. Whatever you want to do. Just
I was gonna
5
say because I
that
can
you
break
think
out the
are
vinyl
like.
collection.
If you've got someone and you're like, look, I'm telling you, you need to appreciate music. Here are 5 that you need to hear.
Okay, so I gotta go to my Spotify real quick. I gotta take a look at this because it's
Take your
like
time.
it just. Oh, this is such a hard. There's so many
There's
good
so
out.
many.
Like I've listened to like my music taste kind of like varies. I would say almost not even month to month, but like sort of like every like sort of seasonal, if that makes sense. Like
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
listening to certain stuff at like a certain time. It's not even necessarily because I get sick of the other stuff, but it's just like I get into a phase where I'm like, this is really good. And then I just kind of dive fully
Mhm.
into it. A lot of it right now is like indie pop stuff for me, where it's just like this very vibey type of music. The best way to describe it is it's like if you're going to not a party to go and like, party hard, it's
Yeah,
like the vibey stuff where you're just there to like kind of chill out with friends, have a good conversation.
yeah.
There's like some sort of random show going on in the background while you're all just like having a good time. Like, and the music's playing. That type of music is like what I've been listening to lately. But
Yeah.
my God, my music goes all over the place. Like, there is just, you've done me dirty with this one. You really just.
That means it's a good question if you're kind of
It's a
stumped
great
and
question.
you got so many good good answers. I like this.
All right, so let me just fire off 3 from the top of my head that I
Okay.
think are just ones that I'm always going to recommend. Faces by Mac Miller is
Okay.
probably my favorite album of all time. I literally have a hold up. How do I? This is a tattoo of it. Like this is
Oh
from
yeah,
the
yeah.
cover. This is from the cover. This is one of the dudes on the cover. So I have a tattoo from Faces because I love Mac Miller. I think he's fantastic. If I'm ever going to recommend one of his albums, it would probably just be Faces, as long as you're okay with weird hip hop. Because like
Yeah.
it's not traditional. It's a weird hip hop. Like the thematics of it, I'll let people go into themselves. So I don't really necessarily talk about it, but it's a very dark album when you learn more about the background of it.
Yeah.
So Faces, Mac Miller,
Okay.
Kenny Beats, Louis.
Okay.
I love that album. It's very recent. It's basically a beat tape with a little bit of lyricism within it,
Yeah.
but it's very well done. The entire thing is a dedication to his father, who we found out had cancer, and upon doing so, he wanted to release an album to show his dad that he could do it because he had been a background producer beforehand.
Mhm.
Put out his own album. It's fantastic. So
Yeah.
Faces, Louis. I'm gonna say, okay, what is the name of this? I need to find the name of this album because this one will Care for Me, Saba. I think
Okay.
it's one of the best albums I've ever heard.
Yeah.
It's basically talking about his, excuse me, it's a little bit darker, but his cousin was murdered while he was in Chicago, and it's basically his reaction to the entire thing and sort of the processing of his feelings as he goes back through all of his life that
Yeah.
his cousin had been a part of, and sort of the thematics of coming back to Chicago and having it feel like an empty home without his family there, despite
Yeah.
him being a touring artist.
Mhm.
So, Faces, Care for Me, Louis. Oh, Cage the Elephant, Melophobia. Cage the
Okay.
Elephant, Melophobia. Love that album, front to back. Fantastic album. So good. I've seen them live multiple times, and they
Yeah.
are just. It's a psychedelic rock album that's just like kind of out there. And then, oh god, the
Only
fifth one
only
is where
one
it's
more
like
spot.
I don't want to give it away though. There's just so many good. There's just so many good albums. I gotta give it to one of two albums, so I'll give you that.
You could do one at honorable mention. We'll do that.
Okay, so 1999, Joey Badass. Love that album.
Yeah.
Love that album. It was one of the first albums that really got me into like mixtape hip hop, where you're just looking into it and just kind of going crazy, and that
Yeah.
like really influenced me a lot. And I guess the final album I'd probably give it to outside of that would be I hate mentioning him because I just don't care about him as a person anymore, but Astroworld Travis Scott.
Yeah.
That album was like the album that came out when it really did hit. I was just like listening it to a day of
Mhm.
and just the thematics of it because I hated that album initially. When it first came out, I was like,
Oh,
this is
okay.
nothing like his last album, nothing like Rodeo. And then it just kind of
Yeah.
came together and I was just like, man, this is solid.
I've
It's a
had
weird list. There's more than that, but I just
Yeah.
off top of my head right
Yeah,
now.
yeah, yeah. I got you on the spot, and I limited you, so it's gonna be tough. But
Mhm.
I find it. I also just want to say, like, that you're outlining some of those, and obviously some of those are very vulnerable, very personal, and that's the stuff that as I got older, I started to appreciate more. But it's very interesting how music can, like, the first time you hear it, it may not strike with you, it may not hit, and then you give it there's an album that the first time I heard it recently is from JPEG Mafia. Him and Danny Brown.
Love Peggy.
Yeah,
Yes.
their recent album. Um, the first time I listened to it, and it's similar where it's like experimental. It's not traditional hip hop stuff. It was too much for me. Like, it was kind of chaotic and all over the place. But the more I
Mhm.
listened to it, the more I really really enjoyed it. So yeah, it's just interesting how sometimes your first take or your first opinion is, it can be overturned or completely flipped, giving it a little bit more of a chance. Which I think, and this is something I love to do, is a good life lesson.
Yep.
Give people time, give ideas time, and give them space to come to life. And you may end up appreciating something that maybe you thought you wouldn't when you initially heard of it or saw it.
I think this is something you and I have we're very like-minded people in that way. I think that's why you and I have been friends for going on like 3 years now, 2 years now, something like
Yeah.
that. And it's just like it's very much that type of thing for me of where, keep your mind open, be a good person, and just kind of be kind. And at the end of the day, as long as you're willing to receive information, then people will be willing to listen to you. So taking in that info, being one person to kind of just be like, not my cup of tea, but I'll listen, I'll hear
Yeah.
you out and kind of like figure it out. I think that's a really good way to kind of approach life just as a whole. And music is
Mhm.
very much that for me to where I was never like true pop fan up until I think certain artists kind of turned me. I will add one more album to that list just because of the fact that I truly do love her incredibly. What's the name of the album? Hold up, let me go to the artist. So Benny is the artist that I'm talking about. I don't know if you know who Benny is.
No.
Bene. She's an artist out of New Zealand, and she does very pop based albums. Fire on Mars is an EP she put out in 2019, and it's just this sort of retro. I don't want to say retro pop, but it's more modern pop of where it's just got like kind of undertones of like modern trap beats and stuff like that with it
Yeah.
with a little bit more swing to it rather than the traditional pop sort of 1, 2, 3, like
Mhm,
constant
mhm.
chords. That's kind of opened my entire mind up to pop and stuff like that. And before,
Yeah.
when I was in high school, I just didn't really want to associate with the word pop. It was just kind of
Yeah.
like I listen to indie, I listen to rap, I listen to hip hop, I
Yeah,
listen
yeah.
to alternative music. That's not pop. And it's just like
Yeah.
as I got older, I kind of was like, I don't care what the labels are for the music. If I like the
Right.
music, I like the music. I'm willing to
Yeah.
listen to whatever. It's why I have oftentimes people who will be like, "Hey, yo, can you play, this song?" And I'll listen to it. If it's not good, I'm gonna, I'll be critical of the music. But I'm
Yeah.
at least willing to listen to it just because it's like you never know what's going to hit you. One of my ex roommates is a huge metalhead, and he listens to a lot more metal than I do. And some of the music, I'm just like, nah, not it, ain't for
Yeah.
me. But every once in a while, a song hits me, and I go, this is awesome, this is
Yeah.
sick, and that's just keep your mind open, willing to do stuff like that. I think it's the best way to live, and I agree with you. That's like it's a life lesson from art in particular, because I think art as a whole can
Yeah.
be felt like that.
Yeah. It's I know that it's maybe not it's maybe cheesy in some people's opinion or whatever else, but yeah, I just love finding little nuggets of wisdom or what I don't whatever you want to call it, something that just kind of shifts my perspective.
Mhm.
Um, Here's a song. I can't even remember what the song name is. Um, I think it's a Flatbush song actually, a Flatbush Zombie song. I think it's
FBZ, yeah.
yeah, I think the artist that's featured in it is ASAP Ferg, I think. And I could be wrong here, but it's just one line. And I don't even remember when I first, and I know that I had heard the song many times before, but when it first, like, just, I don't know, just kind of punched me right in the face. It's this line, and it says, it's just like it's almost an extended ad lib. Like, it's not a big bar or anything, but it just says, I can't believe I existed. And I don't know
Yeah,
why,
yeah, yeah.
but it was just like, yeah, actually. Yeah, true. I can't believe I'm existing. Not only am I existing, but like I'm a whole freaking like human. I'm sentient. I get to experience emotions and like I have the ability to, try to progress in life or make it what I want it to be. And I get to have like choices and experiences and make changes if I want to make them. I don't know. It's such a simple, small, like short phrase, and it seriously just bonk right on the head. And
Glad. And it's a good
it
one.
was just something that kind of sparked gratitude. Like, yeah, actually, I can't believe I existed.
I will say that's a lot of why I do love music is because like specifically I think eh, a lot of what I've listed today is hip hop stuff because it's
Yeah.
probably the main genre that I listen to outside of I would say indie music and another album I would need to add on there. I'm trying to what's it called
You're gonna
yeah,
be
see this is
adding the
like I got
whole
too many of these.
episode. Oh, we're gonna have 20 albums by the end.
Gorillaz Plastic Beach is another really great album. I love that album so much. Old Gorillaz is just hits so hard. But
Yeah.
regardless, my point being though, it's just like um little like music shows you perspectives that you can't really ever like see. And the reason I like hip hop in particular is because a lot of that is them being able to use it as poetry. I know people
Yeah.
like a lot of people hate saying that hip hop is poetry,
No, it.
but there's a reason why it's so many more words per song than it
Yeah.
is in other genre because you can tell a story in other genres. Don't get me wrong. There's absolutely ways to do that. I think some of my favorite artists can tell stories with as little words as possible.
Mm,
But hip hop's really good at giving you a full picture. They'll paint a lot more than you can do in fewer words, and it gives you perspectives to things that you'd never really think about. It gives you gratitude and understanding of the different lives that people live,
yeah.
and it's really interesting to just kind of be able to hear these stories. I think you talked about it before, Kendrick being sort of the
Yeah.
goat for you.
Oh yeah.
He continues to be one of my favorite artists of all time. Going back and listening to his stuff, I always end up just kind of arguing with myself on what's my favorite album out of his.
Yeah.
It seems to always come back to To Pimp a Butterfly, though.
Yeah.
To Pimp a Butterfly is just once you start to get further into it and learn more about like what it's based around, and that like I think the thing that opened my eyes is learning that the main idea he's never specifically came out about this as far as I'm aware, but I think he's hinted and talked about it like in slights is that it's basically a letter to Tupac. It's basically being you are the guy who opened the gates for all of us in Compton and who opened all
Yeah.
the gates for us in LA and showed that we could, have this more higher conscious of hip hop.
Mhm.
And I never got to meet you. I never got to speak to you. I
Yeah.
never got to say anything. But here's what I feel now realizing what you have taught me as a person who has made it in hip hop. Because by that point, he had already done Good Kid. He'd already done Section 80. He'd already blown up. But he's coming back to Compton as a completely different person, realizing that it's like, man, the struggles that these guys were talking about are things I now feel and the ways that I reflect upon my community. So,
Yeah.
like, again, never gonna get that perspective. I
Yeah.
have I have friends from LA. They didn't go like that. They didn't blow up as an artist and come back and start to feel that
Yeah.
that sort of neglect, that survivor's guilt, if you will, from getting out of a place like that. I don't know. I love hip hop because it really does give you a lot of different perspectives from a lot of different places. Like again, that's an like Louis is so interesting to learn more about his background when you find out that the dude was he went to what's it called to to Berkeley as a music school musician, and then started making hip hop beats, and then eventually learned all of this from his father, who then taught him how to like commercialize himself, and it sort of turned into what he is now. And then he puts out his own album, and it's nothing like the beats he's been putting out years past because he
Yeah.
wanted to convey this sort of more artistic vision to show off to his father before he passes. Like again, it just I love music. I could go on about music all day
Mhm.
long. It's one of my favorite things on this planet.
Yeah, 100%. I feel the exact same. I don't think I have as broad of a general interest. Like I'm more narrow on like the genres that I listen to, but I am getting better about it with time. My problem is I'll find an artist or an album that I like, and then I'm binging for months. Like last year, the last 6 months of the year was MF Doom time, and I was just digging
Peak.
up everything I could about him. He's such an interesting character.
Mhm.
Um, very, very, very unique music, very unique delivery. He's got different characters that he can play as far as the artist delivering, his ideas and lyrics. He's a lot of fun.
Mm.
So, talked about music. How are you in regard to movies and shows? Is that something that's a big interest of yours, or maybe not so much?
I used to be kind of a movie head. I don't really have the attention span for it. I'll be 100%. I
Yeah,
wish I did because there's some movies I just absolutely love. But it's just kind of like I think I just prefer TV shows because they're a little bit shorter and they're just easier for me to digest. And I'm
yeah.
also a binge guy of where it's like, okay, this episode wrapped, give me more. Just immediately like
Hmm.
kind of like back into the same sort of stuff. But I definitely watch a decent amount of both. I don't go out to the theaters as much as I'd like to anymore, but I still do watch a decent amount of TV and
Yeah.
movies and stuff. And also anime is a part of that list. I know it's a little bit separate, so people
Okay.
kind of count it
We'll get
separately,
into
but it's
that
like
in a minute then.
yeah.
Does Cash like watching shows?
Yeah, she that's like a lot of something Fear was talking about that I think is interesting is that like there's the show
Yeah.
we watch together, if you
Yeah.
will, and that's like that's the thing for us as well. Is right now she is huge animation person. Anything animated, whether it's anime, animation, like adult animation, kids animation,
Yeah.
anywhere in between. We relate a lot on that because I'm a big animation person. For a while when I was a kid, I wanted to be like an animator.
Oh,
Like that was
okay.
one of my big things. I definitely understand why I didn't go that path. I don't think I ever would have had the talent to be able to be a part of that type of
Yeah.
stuff. But I love modern animation. I think it's super cool to see how it's developed from what was a thing in at least in the United States and like Western culture. Oh, this is a kid thing. This is not for adults,
Yeah.
to now where it's very mature in the ways that some of these animes or these animated shows come out. I think one of the biggest landmarks for me was Invincible blowing up as much as it did because that is not for kids. It's not a kid show. It is very much geared towards adult, and it's not the comedy Family Guy adult. It's like gory, very graphic, and
Yeah.
like I'm glad that that has been adopted in the United States because for a long time it was only a Japanese thing.
Yeah. I mean, I know, there's a lot of I just see this talk about it because I didn't become a fan of anime until probably 24.
Mm.
Um, and it was definitely due to that societal norm of like that's for kids. I like there's I wouldn't even give it a chance. Shout out to my friends though that definitely continued to hound me until I finally did give in because now, I mean, I watch some YouTube, I watch some Twitch, and I watch anime. I don't got no
I
Netflix, I don't got no Hulu, no HBO, no Disney, none of it. And
I
I
want to call you a weeb, but I can't.
do it.
Can't.
I wear it with pride. I do not care at all.
Dude, we've had so many conversations about this because one of the first things I remember telling you about Cass when I met her, I was like, dude, she's got a Killua tattoo, and you were like, yo,
Yes.
you look free.
It's
You were
so
freaking
cool,
out about
too.
that. Because I know you've got a million anime tattoos at this point. I don't have any anime tattoos. I need to get some. I want one from either Naruto, One Punch Man, or Mob Psycho.
Yeah.
Really badly, really, really bad. The Mob Psycho ones, if I do get it though, it's gonna be I gotta find a good artist for that because it's not
Yeah.
gonna be an easy design. Have you seen that yet, Mob Psycho?
Dude, I haven't watched Mob Psycho.
It's from the creators of One Punch Man. It's a little bit more serious than One Punch Man. It's
Yeah.
about a teen with psychedelic powers. That's all I'm going to give you.
Okay.
It's all over the place, man. It's legitimately one of the best animes I've ever seen, though. It's
I've
2 or 3 seasons.
I've heard that from a lot of people that it's really good. It's certainly I have like a big list of like
Same.
a big queue, I guess I should call it. And it's certainly on there. Heard a lot of great things about Mob Psycho. So what? Yeah, and I just want to because you mentioned the Kilo tattoo. It's like a manga panel. It's
Yeah,
kind of the
yeah, yeah,
style.
yeah. It's
Oh,
like
dude, it
right
is so
across
freaking sick, dude. It
where
looks
this
so
would be.
cool.
It's the eyes. I'm not going to spoil it for anybody who has not seen Hunter x Hunter, but it's the one scene from the end of the hunter exams with Killua doing something. And it's just basically the aftermath of that. I'm not gonna say anything else, but like it's that sort of the look of his eyes that they
Yeah.
have where they like freeze frame on that. It's so
So good. It looks so good. What are
Mhm.
some shows that you and Cass have been watching, whether it's anime or whatever else?
So we did watch Mob Psycho together. That was one thing that we watched together, and we were both like, "This is the greatest thing ever." We
Yeah.
just finished Adventure Time. She's seen it like a million times.
Ooh,
I
I've
had
never
never
seen it.
finished. Oh my
I've never
god!
seen it.
Okay, so as someone who dabbled in it, we figured out exactly like where I went to. Excuse me, sorry, I ate curry before, and I think a little flake just got stuck on. Anyways, we started it from like the very beginning, and we realized I got up to probably about like season 5, and that's where I kind of dipped out because
Yeah.
I was watching when I was a kid. I didn't realize they like concluded the show when I was like a teen getting into an adult. I
Yeah.
think 2000 like 17 or 18 is when they closed the show, and that was when I was going to college. Like that was the first year of my college. So I didn't really finish the show, but I watched up to about season 5, and then I didn't realize it goes from like, haha, kid show, we allude to death and some weirder stuff to, all right, let's just straight up talk about murder. And it's just like, what? What? It goes, it's the weirdest show I've probably ever seen. It truly has like so much nonsense in it. It's hard to keep up with. But
Yeah.
the story they do give you is so it's when I talk about, modern animation having to live up to what is the seriousness that anime gives it, the treatment of
Yeah.
a real show, that's one of the shows that does it right. The
Yeah.
way that it goes, even its conclusion is just still HBO did a 4-part special to sort of wrap up the entire thing at the very end of the show, and it's just there's nothing left hanging. It's
Yeah.
just the perfect I watch that show. If you're a fan of modern animation and anime and
Yeah.
stuff, I high key recommend it. It's kiddie for a couple of seasons, and it's kind of like, okay, this is weird, but once it does hit, it just sucks you in.
Yeah. I'll have to give it a try. That's another thing that I've heard uh, seemingly everyone say. They very much enjoyed it. All right, so Adventure Time, keep on rolling. Mob Psycho. What else y'all got?
We watch Bob's Burgers all the time.
Bob's
That's still
Burgers,
ongoing.
classic.
It's just so good. Turns out they made another show called The Great North, which I didn't know was going on with Nick Offerman. It's the same creators as Bob's Burgers, and it's very good. We've been
Yeah.
watching that lately. She doesn't watch a lot of like people shows. Again, it's mostly
Yeah.
animation stuff.
Yeah.
We've watched a couple of shows. We watched The Last of Us together. Both love that show. That was
Mhm.
season 2 gonna be good. I'm very excited for season 2.
Yeah.
But I personally would like not without watching with Cass, I watch a lot of stuff that is more like serious. I'm very into sort of like okay, the best 2 shows that I will say describe this genre, and I don't know what to call the genre, is Mindhunter and Breaking Bad. Those 2,
Okay.
and then I guess Better Call Saul by, sort of
Yeah.
association. It's very serious, but it's not like I don't know how to describe it. It's not well, I guess it's hard. Mindhunter is very real. Do you know what that is? Have you ever heard of that show?
Nope.
Okay, so Mindhunter is based off of this this book that came out in the 1970s and 1980s, which is basically the first ever classification of serial killers. This guy who was an
Okay.
FBI agent at the time
Mhm.
went in and basically worked on their the sort of mental side of how they evaluate crimes and killers and stuff like that,
Yeah.
and sort of built up this how is it profiles of different serial killers in the United States by going and interviewing them
Oh.
individually. It's a real thing. This actually happened. This book is real. And he like talked to all of these famous serial killers throughout history. He talked to Charles Manson. He talked to what's the guy's name? It's there. I'm trying to think of the specific names. There's like big ones. Son of Sam, which is another one out of the East Coast, which is another big one. But basically, he went and individually interviewed these guys,
Yeah.
wrote up profiles on them, and then it's just sort of the entire story of like how this came to be and his experience at the FBI. They dramatize it a little bit to give
Yeah.
some other stuff in between. But the actual interviews, I've done research because of how much I enjoy this show.
Yeah.
They're almost word for word what these guys were saying way back when. He
Yeah.
got some crazy stuff. So that show I love. Breaking Bad I love. Better Call Saul I love. I'm trying to think of other shows that are similar to that. I was okay with Ozark, but it got kind of boring for me, and I was just like, there's just not enough going on.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's that sort of like the crime shows, I guess
Yeah.
is a better way to put it. I'm not
Yeah.
sure.
Interesting. I have I just okay, I'm not gonna lie. I went through a phase in high school where I was pretty into Jersey Shore.
Yes, yes.
It's so funny, dude. They were crazy. They were so. I mean, they're just menaces, dude. They're just. I mean,
The worst people on this planet, and it's just you love watching it. It's a
it was
train
such
wreck
good
every time.
television, dude. It was such good television.
Just
But yeah, I've never really been into like drama or reality television outside of that. I know it was really hot when I was in high school with like the Real World and then like road rules challenges and stuff like that, like MTV reality stuff. But yeah, I was never into that. I think the only couple of shows that I've watched are and these took like a heavy persuading was Game of Thrones, which was fantastic. You know, we got some complaints about the ending and whatnot, but you know, fantastic
never seen
show.
Game of Thrones. I'll be 100%. I only started getting hooked once at the what's it called came out, the finale, and everybody told me it was horrible, and I was like, I'm not gonna.
Yeah,
it's
I mean,
not worth it.
I mean, I just think it could have been better, and you know, whatever. I'm not gonna get too upset about it by any means, but
Okay,
still
fair.
fantastic television, especially like the first 6 seasons. And then the other one, and I didn't finish it, and I heard that it became like just kind of unhinged and like people didn't like it, but it was called oh man, now I'm drawing a blank. It was they
Give
had
me the
that
script.
Westworld.
Yeah, I watched the first 2 seasons of that as well. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I never finished it.
The first couple seasons were crazy, dude. Like I feel like they set things up
good.
really well. I was really into it, but I think what happened was I ended up leaving. I finished school, and then obviously, you know, whenever school's over, you just have like less time because you started working full time. So I just never really got back into it. And I think around that time as well is when I started to dabble with anime. And as soon as I got into it, man, the thing for me with anime, and you know, I guess this is true for probably all animated content, it just doesn't have to operate inside the confines of like our human reality, right? Like the only limitations to those shows are the imagination of the writers. They can give them whatever powers they want. They can put them through whatever hardship that they want, you know, and another thing that some people may find cheesy, but I find it so inspiring. I'll be crying in anime. You know, it's tugging at my heart. I mean, it's just, I just love it. And I'm basic too. I like the shonen stuff. You know, I like some of the most Naruto, Hunter x Hunter, One Piece. You know, and I would say I imagine that I probably get a little bit more explorative as I continue to, you know, get through like your main most popular stuff, because I'll just have to go digging for different content. But man, I absolutely love it. I cannot say enough positive about it. It's so
I'm
good.
putting you on the spot then. You put me on the spot. I'm putting you on the spot.
Sure.
Give me a top 3 animes. Not necessarily like the overarching, always the best of all time, but just personally the ones that hit for you.
My top 3?
Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to say 2 here, and these are not top 3, but the only reason that they're probably not top 3 is because they're nowhere near finished, but I love them a lot. Demon Slayer and Jujutsu Kaisen. But there's like, you know, it's just so few seasons. I can't
Watching both of those.
It's not a full story yet. I think JJK, like, I feel very confident that's going to end up in my top 3. It's just, I love what they have with the beginning of that. I think one of the things that after watching a few, you start to understand like the power levels at the beginning are like infinitesimally small compared to where it goes. And JJK is already freaking insane. So like I know that I can't fathom where it's going, but I know that it's going to be crazy. So
okay.
I like those 2, but those are not my top 3. I think top 3, number 1 is going to have to be One Piece. It's not concluded yet, but holy moly, is it such a good show. It is so expansive. It is so well done in the sense that like it's not just random stuff that doesn't contribute to the story. Like there's a continuous journey and it all makes sense. It'll tie you back to pieces from really early on and you'll be like, oh, I see that. I understand now. I think One Piece is freaking phenomenal. So good. Second, probably going to have to go Attack on Titan. I really loved Attack on Titan. It's more gory. It's obviously a lot more dark than a lot of the shonen stuff that I've rattled off. But I mean, it just hooked me immediately. You know, if you have watched it, you know that it throws the action right in your face, like freaking soon as you start watching, and you just realize like, oh, that's what I'm walking into. Okay.
Everybody expendable.
So those two I feel pretty good about for sure having top 3 spots. And like I said, I'll probably put them at top 1 and 2. This third is going to be tough. This is going to be tough. I really enjoyed Naruto. I actually watched Shippuden first because all my friends were like, you're not going to like the first part. But I liked it so much, I went back and watched the original.
Mm.
And I really like Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. I really like Hunter x Hunter. I really like Death Note. But I think I'll put
there we go.
I thought I knew, but
you put me on the spot with 5 albums, so 1,000,000 albums I listen to. Albums are an hour, animes are like 9 years long. And you're out here trying to give me 5.
I thought I almost said one. I thought I knew, but then I was like, wait, are you sure?
Okay, if not honorable mention,
I'll say,
you can throw a couple.
Dude, the thing is, they're all so tight. I don't know. I think I'll say Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, and I don't think I've normally ranked that show that high, but I think I will. I'm sitting here reflecting and just thinking about the different concepts and different execution of the shows and whether or not there's any type of like loose ends or like holes and stuff. But Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood is very good. So I think I'll probably slot that in a third spot for now. But the two that I mentioned at the top, I would not be surprised if those find themselves, at least one of them finds themselves in the top 3 when it's all said and done. I'm excited too because this year we're getting the content. Demon Slayer's rolling out now weekly. I've really enjoyed it. The animation in that show is just freaking insane. I mean, they are, in my opinion, elevating everything because like when you know, it's like for our Rocket League folks here, like Zen is obviously levels here and he's up here, but you know, after a year of him being here, he's going to elevate everyone, right? Like you can't just sit and watch him and him be above you forever. Everybody's going to be trying to do what he's doing. It's very similar to like Justin back in the day. When Justin came in and was levels above, everybody started like catching up. And I think that's kind of what Demon Slayer is doing animation-wise, man. The conclusion of last season, that fight was freaking jaw-dropping. It was gorgeous. And then
I need to watch more of that.
JJK, the second season is coming out later this year. So we got anime on deck. My Hero new season came out earlier this year. I enjoyed it. It was definitely better than the previous. It kind of got slow for a little bit, but this one was banging. I'm actually, and this checks out because I ranked it number 1. I'm actually in a rewatch of One Piece, which is for anyone that doesn't know,
9 years to kill. Like
for anyone that doesn't know, that's 1,000+ episodes. Dude, I'm telling you, I love it, dude. It's so good.
I will say both Attack on Titan, I finished the first season, never really went further into it, but I also watched it when I was like 16, 17 or something like that, so I don't really remember a lot about it.
Yeah.
And then One Piece, I tried my hardest, man, with One Piece. It's so long. I got like,
it is.
And it's not even like I know people are gonna be like, oh, how hard did you try? I watched over 100 episodes, and then I just was like, I couldn't keep going. Whoops, I couldn't keep going. It just like, I don't know. It was good, but it wasn't great. And I feel like for me, it's a lot more about substance. And I feel like One Piece had a lot of episodes that kind of dragged on. It's my issue now rewatching Naruto without the nostalgia factor.
Sure.
It's very hard because it just kind of drags a lot of episodes versus stuff like, if I'm going my top 3, I feel like something like Mob Psycho is going to be in there because it's just a couple seasons, very short, to the point, and it's just, like you said, that sort of ramping up of where we start off with powers like this, and they get to, all the way up here.
Yeah.
That type of stuff is huge for me. But I got to finish a lot more of the anime. A lot of the anime I have watched is like random stuff, random here or there things. But I definitely want to get more into it. I don't think I watched nearly enough anime just because of the fact that for so long, a lot of the tropes kind of scared me away. The over-sexualization of women, some of the more childish ways that they act towards certain individuals. It's just like the caricatures of how they draw people. I was just kind of like, this is a little too off the base. But there are shows, that do try to avoid that a lot more. I will say, huge shout out to, if I'm not mistaken, both Jujutsu Kaisen and as well as Demon Slayer are written by women, which is awesome. It's awesome to see women writers that are able to
Yeah.
not have those same sort of standard tropes for anime, which can be
Right.
harmful. And so those are ones where it's like I need to finish both of those.
Yeah.
Absolutely need to.
Well, hey, you got plenty of content with those coming out,
Yeah.
even this year. So definitely check those out. There's a couple of movies. Demon Slayer has a movie
Yep.
as well, and so does JJK. So
Mhm.
great content. And like I said, those are two that probably would find themselves in there, but you know,
They're only a couple
they're
seasons
just
long by
so,
now.
yeah, they're just so new. I got to give them some more time to uh, unfold, I guess. All right, then anime. I could go on
Talk about all of
I
these
could go on
forever.
forever about it. All right then. Well, I know we have seen, and you mentioned your tattoo there, or one of them. So I'm a big tattoo fan. I've got a few myself, but tell us a little bit about those. I know that yours are, you know, they've got some cool stories there. So let us know about those.
Yeah. So I haven't gone anywhere but my arms so far. My arms are both not covered. This one definitely needs some more fill in, but this one's like got more of a half piece on it, and then just like a little flash guy just on here. Um, I've always been into tattoos. You talked about reality TV never hooking you. There were a couple of them that hooked me as a kid. I think Cake Boss is one that I always remember fondly.
Okay.
That it's funny. My middle school teacher, his daughter was on Cake Boss, so he would always like put up episodes and be like, look, it's her, it's her, and I was like, okay, cool. Anyways, but so one reality television show that really got me was what is it called?
Inked.
It's not okay. Inked is the magazine. That's why I'm trying to remember what is the name of the
Um.
show. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I believe Inked is the magazine. So wait, hold up. If Inked is the tattoo show. Hold up, I'm gonna find this tattoo. Ink Master. Ink
Ink
Master. That was the one.
Master. Yeah.
Ink
Yeah.
Master.
Yeah.
Ink Master fascinated me when I was a kid, and it inspired me to kind of go look further into it because while Ink Master itself was not the greatest content, some of the pieces were just like mind blowing to me. So when I
Yeah. Yeah.
got to the point where I wanted to get into tattoos, I like dove deep into it. I did my entire senior thesis when I was in high school about tattoos and about the history
Oh,
behind them and
cool.
all that type of stuff. First piece I ever got was this guy. This goes all the way up my arm and to the back. This is
It's
all
beautiful.
Ivy. My first dog's name was Ivy, or is Ivy. She's only 5 now, and so I got that off of her. This arm is just mostly nonsense, if I'm being real. The only piece on here that like has a quote meaning outside of well, what I'll explain afterwards is this guy. This is a rabbit. I was born in the year of the rabbit. It's the same thing that this is, born in the year of the rabbit, and so that type of stuff like just kind of connects with me. And
Yeah.
then the rest of this is the thematic stuff you were hinting at.
Yeah.
Every time that I do a LAN, I get a tattoo based off of it. So as a commentator, as a caster, anytime that I work in person, the team that wins the LAN influences what the tattoo is going to be, basically.
Yeah.
So let's give a couple examples just to sort of show this off. The first LAN I ever did was something called CECC. Funny enough, I'm actually flying to the second annual one of these in just a couple of days. And so Northwood, if you guys don't know, is the one who won it. That's what this is. This is a American traditional wolf with a split piece of lumber in its mouth, and they are the Timberwolves. So Timberwolves for that.
Yeah.
I've got a bolt on the back of my arm for a kid in Atlanta who won the DreamHack Fortnite Open named Bolts.
There you go.
Self-explanatory. This one is a question mark with a little tiny R at the bottom of it because the first ever Fortnite event that I did, which was DreamHack Dallas, kid who won it, his name was Ritual. Now, relatively solid player. Back then, he had like 800 followers on Twitter. No one had ever heard of this dude. He blew up overnight to like
Yeah.
5,000 followers. Like just kind of
Oh, that's so
became like this
cool.
huge dude. It was awesome because like I remember the entire event. The event was itself was kind of scuffed, and we weren't really sure who was going to win the entire thing. There was a lot of like little hiccups here and there. But when this kid came out on top, everybody looked around and went,
Huh?
huh? Because there's like there were pro players that flew out to this. It was the first Fortnite LAN in like 2 or 3 years because of COVID. So
Yeah.
when a kid who no one like wasn't an FNCS player, which is Fortnite's professional circuit, won it, everybody it was just kind of like, who is this? So question mark with an R on it. What other ones do I have? This guy, this is the one Rocket League fans are gonna love. This is a super baguette. This is a baguette, like a piece of French bread, with a little mask on it right here, and then a cape. It is for Team BDS. I worked the World Championship of Rocket League last year, and so BDS, a French super team, won it. And I kind of had this idea way back where I was like, let's get a flying baguette, like a super baguette. And I was like, that's hilarious. And shout out my artist, Brian. Man's had a this is not what I thought was gonna go on. When I saw this, I went, "Yo, that's way better than anything I could have imagined." Like that,
Yeah.
my creativity is not there. But I've got a couple more coming up. I've got obviously second CECC. We're gonna figure out what that is. I did a land in Boise, and so I talked to the Boise guys about that, and they were like, get a Bronco, get something similar to our logo, if that makes
Yeah.
sense." And so I'm gonna probably same style as this guy, have a Bronco going like right around here, just kind of bucking or whatever.
Yeah.
And then the other one is I did a land in Ohio last year, and Akron ended up winning it. University of Ohio Akron ended up winning it, and Akron's mascot is a kangaroo. They kept telling me, they're like, "Yo, get the mascot, or get Zippy, or get a Z," and I'm like, "Guys, this would all look horrible. I'm not doing any of that type of stuff." What I will do though, they'll take your mascot, and I'll recognize that a kangaroo skull is a very sick design, and that
Yeah.
you guys are from Ohio, which the state plant or the state flower is a red carnation. So what I'm gonna do is have the skull of a kangaroo, and then out of one of the eyes is just is a red carnation coming out of it. So
Yeah.
very, very excited. Those are the ones that I got planned. I don't think I have anything else that I need to do. And then, yeah, again, there's a couple of tattoos on here I didn't explain. They're mainly just random flash that I thought
Yeah.
looked cool. That's literally it. I thought it looked cool. Sunglasses guy's cool. Very nice. I like him.
Yeah. Dude, that's I mean, that's how I am as well. At this point, I just want to get things that look cool, even if it doesn't have meaning.
Yep.
But that theme of like the lands you worked is gonna be so freaking sick whenever you get older and you've got these reminders of things,
Mhm.
especially like early on, right? Because like this is early in your career. I'm sure it's gonna be a long, beautiful career. And
Get it.
these first few, you're gonna look back and just, I mean, it's gonna be so special.
Mm-hmm. I will say I've had a lot of people be like, "Why are you just filling up your arm right now? You know you're gonna run out of space, right?" And I'm like, "Yo, I got the rest of my body. I got
That's
from
right.
my head to my toes. Like I got so
Yeah.
much room to be able to fill stuff in. I haven't touched my legs. I've not touched my chest or my back at all. I will say I'm terrified to touch the ribs. I've heard it from you. I've heard it from my girlfriend. I've heard it from everybody. The ribs suck to
Ribs are
get
tough.
tattooed. They are horrible. But you've done the elbow, so at a certain
Yeah.
point, like if you can survive, bro. Do you know how
Both.
I have so many people who I've talked to who are just like, no, I avoid the elbow. I'm not touching it.
Yeah,
I will not do the elbow.
my artist has a full sleeve and he's got a circle because he didn't want to do the elbow.
Just I will say my new artist Brian, he did the one place that I think will one up in, and I'll actually the one thing actually I'll one up that almost immediately with my friend Casey. But he had to tap out halfway through it. He's got an anglerfish on his palm of his hand, and it just like he had to go through a first session because it's a hard surface first off the tattoo,
Yeah.
and second he tapped out halfway. He was like, no, 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 no.
That's
no,
crazy.
No. He just like refused. The only other one that I know is like almost like that. It seems like as bad as my friend Casey has multiple tattoos on the top of his foot.
I've heard foot's
On the
miserable. Yeah.
top of his foot. To be fair, this guy's also got both of his knees tatted, like literally like on the kneecap tatted, and he's like, that was the worst ever.
Yeah.
But
I've also heard
Nah.
that's bad. My next two is going to be a chest piece. It's an owl, kind of an homage to my Hoodyhooo original logo. I think that'll be really cool. And then I'm also doing the knees as well. It's just a sun and moon. It's kind of the concept of like good, evil, just the balance of like life. There's going to be both. So I think that's a cool concept. But yeah, those are, here's the thing. I'm trying to do those two because obviously as you get older, it gets tougher. Like your pain tolerance is right.
Yeah.
And so I want to go ahead and try to knock out the places that I've heard that sternum specifically is, I mean, I have heard that is like potentially the worst place. A couple of the artists at the shop were talking about it, and one of the girls there said that she was like literally like screaming. She said it was so painful.
One thing I have learned is apparently pain centers are different for men and women. So it is a little bit different on where it like normally would be painful. So like men's like upper chest are a lot better than women's upper chest because they have a lot more nerves up there.
Yeah.
But yeah, Cass got her sternum tattooed, and she didn't know this at the time. We've now figured this out. You know what a Sanoderm is, like the second skin? Yeah. So she's allergic to Sanoderm.
Oh no.
We didn't realize that. We found out we found that out by explaining the symptoms of how the Sanoderm, was bad for her to a friend, and she was like, "Oh no, I'm like diagnosed allergic. that's an allergy attack to the stuff. So
Oh,
she
goodness.
got the whole thing tatted. Already it hurt like crazy, and then she has to try to take it off in the shower, and she's passed out because of how painful it was. Because it was
Oh,
like it
man.
had a reaction with her skin. So she's trying to take this off. Well, it's
And
already
it's
creating a
hard to
rash
take
underneath.
off, dude.
It's not fun.
Yeah.
So yeah, she sternum was the one for her where she was just like, it's the worst thing ever. I
Oh,
don't
my
ever want
goodness.
to touch. Have you ever touched like the pit of your elbows and stuff like that, like around this area? Yeah. So that also horrible, horrendous. I
Not bad.
hated that. I barely touched that with this guy because he just like starts to crease the edge of it.
Yeah.
This guy, I'm like pretty clear. Those are terrible. And then, do you ever get a wrist? Anything on like the nerve, like the veins of your wrist? Yeah,
We're
that
creeping
was
there.
horrible. This thing's fully black.
Yeah.
Shaving this in was the worst thing ever. Because
Yeah, I bet.
also, my guy was a what's the
Dude,
word, apprentice at the time, and
th-
that. Oh,
that's what I was going to say. I think a lot of it depends on the artist too, because some of these
yeah.
people just have different techniques and they learn from different people. Some of them are kind of heavy-handed, some of them are not. And some of them even work at different speeds, right? Like the guy that I've been going to, I think he's very quick.
Mhm.
And of course, tattoos are painful, but I feel like with him, it's like the least amount of pain possible. Is basically what I'm getting at. He's quick. He's not super heavy-handed. And but yeah, love tattoos. Certainly want to get more. And
Same.
as as I can afford it and as it makes sense, I definitely will. I've actually been kind of doing this thing where I'm incentivizing good behavior by allowing tattoos when I achieve the good behavior. So I have this habit tracker and I have like 7 or 8 things that I'm trying to do on a daily basis. And once I hit 30
okay.
days of perfection, that's when I'm allowing myself to get my next tattoo. So I'm incentivizing, positive behaviors that I want to establish as habits. And
I wish I did that.
if I can get to, I had some hiccups with the travel to San Diego and whatnot. But if I can get to the 11th of May, perfection, it's time to schedule.
I gotta, dude. Honestly, only thing holding me back is A, tattoos are expensive,
Yeah.
and B, honestly, the next one I really want to do outside of the ones for the land is I want to take this flash piece. So this flash piece was just like a random thing that they had for Friday the 13th. I came to see my artist, and I was already getting a tattoo that day, and he was like, and I was like, "You got some time to do a flash piece?" And he's like, "Yeah, sure." And he just, because he's an apprentice at the time, he's just trying to get practice
Yeah.
like for everything. Huge shout out to Brian for that, because we've both seen apprentices that suck. They can't tattoo anything. This guy hit the ground running. I saw his first tattoo and went, "You're gonna be good. I know you're gonna be good. I got faith in you." And so I was just like, "Yo, you can do whatever," because all of that he's done is always turned out well. I like this design so much. I want to have this expand all the way up my arm and then onto my hand.
Yeah.
I know that A is going to be expensive and B, it's going to take a lot of time, so I got to figure it out. There's some gigs that I have potentially coming up where I'm trying to get into that could be within KSA, and they're not as pro visible tattoos.
Right.
So they're like, a couple tattoos in here and there, fine. It's going to be pretty hard to hide a tattoo on my hand.
Yeah, true.
So I'm going to wait until I find out if I'm doing that work or not. And if I am, okay, cool. If not,
maybe delay it a year or so.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I got some time. I'm in no rush. Eventually, I'll get these tattoos. Like, I may be old for esports, but I'm still young. I got time.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Such a wild concept that we're considered old. I know I'm a little bit older
20,
than you, but
you're ancient.
even
like
still,
that's literally what they say. It's just, I mean, you're not even though. It's like, again, like large age difference is something like 10 to 20 years. You are not that much older than me. And it's just like people in esports that are like, "Oh, you're 2 years older than me, ancient grandpa." And I'm just like,
they do. Bro, as soon as you hit 20, it's chalked. They're calling you old, retirement home.
"Oh, you don't know how mechanics anymore. You don't know what's up to date. You don't know how to talk." No, come on. I am finally getting to the point where people will say words that I'm just like, I don't know what that is.
Yeah.
I don't know the lingo. I don't. And it feels so, I just feel ancient, but it's just, we work with kids. It's kind of hard.
Yeah.
That's kind of what
that's
it
true.
is.
I have, I'll say for a while, I was kind of like, I guess kind of down about it is probably the best way to describe it. But I am very comfortable with it. In fact, I mean, I would even say that I'm grateful for it because I look at some of the behavior exhibited by the young ones in front of a large audience, and I know that I would have been the same. And so I'm very grateful for the fact that I didn't really start until I was like 27. And obviously, you're much more mature at 27 than 15 years old. So there's things to be grateful for regarding that.
100%.
Yeah, but you do have to deal with people making fun of you. So
Dude,
it is what it is.
I will never forget working on a Fortnite broadcast where one of the kids were coming in there, and so at the time I was like the only experienced caster. So I'm talking to everybody else, kind of explaining to them what your day rate should be, how you should approach a gig, how to talk to sponsors, how to talk to people, all this type of stuff. And we get through the whole conversation. Next day we come back in and we're all talking about like a bunch of different stuff. And one of the guys goes, "Oh yeah, no, Bass, the way you were speaking, I thought you were like 32." And I'm just like,
Bruh.
what? He's just like, I'm like, dude, at the time I was like 22 years old, 23 years old. And I'm just sitting here like, what? Like,
That's so
how, wait,
funny.
like, you're 10 years off, man. Like, really? Like, I don't know. Kids seem to have horrible
Yeah.
concepts with age.
Yes,
Like,
that's right.
my girlfriend works at an elementary school. Some of her kids have asked if she's 16.
Yeah.
You can't
Yeah.
work as a teacher at
Yeah, yeah.
6. Like,
Their perspective is off. They just have they just really have so few years of life experience. And I don't mean that like I'm not trying to be like
no,
elitist
it's
or
just
whatever,
like,
but like your perspective is different as time gets,
mhm,
years. People say time goes faster. It's just because a year is a smaller portion of your life. Like
mhm.
for me, it's 1/30th of my life. For a 15-year-old, it's 1/15th. So like
Yeah.
1 year is, my perspective is half as long as what it is for somebody that's 15 years old. So, yeah, I mean, things just change as you get older. But
Happens.
with that, we'll talk about, or I'll ask you this question. What are some proud moments or accomplishments or things that you just hold near and dear that you have achieved throughout life? It could be from the childhood. It could be from something more recent. But yeah, just something that you are proud of.
So I know you wanted to keep more or less away from work with this one because I think it is, it's very much a
I,
show
li-
that's like around
I like
that.
work
But
answers as well.
I mean, the thing is for me, it's just that. So I'm 24. I'm relatively, again, I'm young. I'm not gonna let.
That's right. Say it. Say
I'm
it.
not gonna let the 17-year-olds tell me that I'm old because in my life, up until 18 was just schooling, doing my stuff.
Yeah.
Like there's cool accomplishments. We again, captain of my baseball and soccer team is really cool. We actually even won the first ever league championship when I was the captain of the soccer team as a senior. So that was a really
Nice.
cool thing.
That
I
is
got to take
cool.
the trophy. I got to take the trophy home and like stay and keep it for a night and like keep it in my house. And
Yeah.
my coach was like, "Here, you're the only senior captain. Take this one." And I'm
Yeah.
just like, "Oh, this is cool." But that type of stuff is just like it's cool, but it's kind of part of the path of life. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
It didn't feel like I earned towards that. This one sounds dumb, and I think a lot of people, especially if you're under 18, this is not going to make a lot of sense to you. But moving out of my parents' place was probably one of the biggest like ones for me, is being able to
Yeah.
actually go and do that for the first time. And the reason it happened was that basically I'm very grateful. My parents supported my esports career from pretty much the start of it. My dad is a very up to date person. He had been around video games and stuff for a very long time, and I am not the easy path to success. I think a lot of
Right.
people don't really know this about me, but I had a lot of ups and downs throughout life. I dropped out of college twice. So it was like, once I struggled for a long time to find something that was me, if that makes sense. I
Yeah.
did
Yeah.
sports, I did all of this type of stuff, but again, jack of all trades, you don't really ever stick with anything, and it doesn't really ever feel impassioned to you. When I found esports casting, it just kind of clicked immediately, and I very quickly had people go from like a small buzz to a big buzz, and it just kind of went, "Oh, this could be the thing. This could be the
Yeah.
one." And I remember after about 6 months of doing gigs for free, I started to get some paid ones. After I started to get some paid ones, it started to kind of like the momentum picked up really quickly. And I remember sitting down with my parents, with my dad, my stepmother, and then my mother, and they at the time were kind of like, what's your plan going ahead? And I kind of just had to tell them, I had to go, look, I know this is going to sound crazy. Give me
Mhm.
1 to 2 years, and I promise you, I will be full time, making enough money that I can move out of this house, go do my own thing.
Yeah.
A year and a half, I want to say, from that conversation is when I moved to Vegas. And at that time, I'd already been looking for places for about 6 months. So I really got to that point
Yeah.
at about a year, literally exactly where I said I was going to, after getting picked up by CRL, RLCS, and all sorts of different stuff.
Yeah.
And when I actually did move to Vegas and I kind of sat in my own room and in my own place in my home, it was very much a proud moment of me to realize, like,
Yeah.
hey, the gamble you just took 2 years ago to drop out of college again to just maybe have this work out, it paid off. You were right, kid. You made the right bet. And that's one of those moments that was really proud for me. And I think that it's going to be hard to describe that to an 18-year-old who doesn't really understand that, especially a lot of people
Yeah.
I would say who do go to college and it's just, college to career. Yes, there is that sort of aspect, but it's a little bit of a different one versus having the highs and lows of dropping out twice, trying to figure out what to do, doing
Yeah.
random jobs to just make ends meet and see what works. But when that actually clicked and finding that purpose and realizing the purpose was correct, that was was a very proud moment of my life.
Yeah.
So that's one, and then the other one would probably be working the Rocket League World Championship. That is
Yeah.
you've heard this story before, but the amount of stars that had to align
Mhm.
for me to get to that point was just I'm very much of a mentality. My father talks to me about this a lot where it's like you yes, every career is going to have an aspect of luck. There will always be luck involved in so many different things. But it's taking that luck and running with it, taking
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
advantage of those opportunities given and turning it into something even greater that defines you as a person. And I think that was what was so powerful for me about working the World Championship was that it was a lot of working these little opportunities into something greater, and then they all ended up hitting. And it just the gambles you take, being bold,
Yeah.
being
Yeah.
brave, being a person who's not afraid to step outside the box. So World Championship and that I think are probably the two that like really hit the closest to home.
That's incredible, man. And yeah, I mean, you're right about it's probably going to be difficult to understand. I would even say, like, not only for the young ones, but I think for older people as well, because
Yeah.
dude, it's just different now. It's stuff is expensive. It's hard to afford not only like rent or a mortgage, but even just like everyday expenses. It's a lot. It's a lot more. I think it's just a lot more expensive to exist
Oh, yeah.
at all
Mhm.
nowadays than things used to be. So, being able to have the faith in yourself and have the confidence in yourself and the discipline and the determination to, take a road less traveled and one that, a lot of people are going to look at and they're going to be wondering, like, what the heck are you doing? This is not a career. That they'll look at things like teaching and nursing or a car
Mhm.
salesman or a realtor, and like those are careers. Esports caster, that's a hobby. That's not a career. That's what
Dude,
they're
I
gonna be
yell at
thinking.
video games. I can understand people who are like, "What? You do what with a huh? That's your job? You get paid for
Yeah.
that? Who would pay you for that?" And it's like, yeah, I
So
it's hard.
yeah, making that choice to, I mean, when you made that choice that, and I don't, your parents probably did support you, but that you're not gonna get a lot of like encouragement. That the
Yep.
general sentiment is going to be skepticism or hesitancy. It's not going to be like if you said, I'm going to go be a doctor, every person, let's go, you can do this. That's a great choice. If you say anything in the medical field or business,
Mhm.
whatever, these more traditional careers, you're going to get encouragement and support and enthusiasm. Whereas when you made a choice like what you made, it's going to be the opposite. People are going to be questioning and it's hesitancy and again, skepticism. And I'm saying all this because I felt it too. When I made that choice to do what I'm doing, it was the same type of gig where
Mhm.
it's just something that's not, it's atypical, and it's very new. All this is very new. I think really it's only existed as something that you could actually achieve as a career and like put food on the table for probably like 10 years, maybe
Yeah, something like
15,
that.
for like a very elite few at the top. But, um, you know, doing something similar to you and having to take a lot of the similar steps, I have so much respect and admiration for it because it is tough. And I can imagine and dropping out of college not once but twice. I'm sure that a lot of the patience from some of the people around you was probably wearing thin, right?
I mean, it was like I think the biggest way to, again, it's why I'm so grateful for my father. And so my dad worked in like a ton of different stuff for marketing. He's been a huge marketing executive for a numerous amount of companies for a ton of different stuff. And my dad was one of the first people who ever like picked up on like, oh, YouTubers and these guys online, those influencers are the next generation. He
Yeah,
knew
yeah,
this,
he
like
knew.
one of the first projects he ever tried to do was getting this company called eBrary, which was basically the library books that you see nowadays that are electronic that like, libraries at schools and stuff work through. That's his product. That's eBrary. And
Gotcha.
so that type of stuff, when he first got that out, he wanted to grab, I think the exact person was Jenna Marbles. Before she was as big as she is nowadays,
Yeah,
he wanted to put her on as a sponsor because he knew that she would connect with kids better and be able to get them influenced into stuff like that. And
yeah,
again, it's an electronic world. You try to get a celebrity to sell an electronic world back
right.
in 2012 or whenever it was, they don't really know what they're talking about. They don't really understand that type of
Yeah.
stuff. It's kind of just like it's there. So when I made that like sort of announcement to my family, my dad was the only person who my dad had always told me, he's like, you should be a YouTuber, you should be a Twitch streamer, you should be all this stuff because he thought I
That's
just
sick.
he knew I loved it and he thought that I had a good way of entertaining people. Because when I was first streaming on Twitch, it was in like 2013 13 when I was like 13 years old, basically. And
Yeah.
I'm just kind of like, having fun, doing random stuff in CSGO. And I was getting some attention back then, but not now where I can make it a career. But he saw that and he knew the potential. Whereas my stepmom and my mother just kind of heard this fantasy of like, hey, I got paid a couple of times to scream at video games. What if I
Yeah.
did this all the time? And they're just like,
Yeah. Mhm.
they're not gonna say no because they trust me and they understand that it's like, okay, he's not gonna say this if it's just absolute nonsense. But
Yeah.
it still was a little bit of them just kind of hesitating, going, oh God, what is he getting
Yeah.
himself into? My mom talks about it now a lot of how proud she is to see that it's like it worked. What I
Yeah.
said to her was true. I was able to manifest these things that were larger than me. I hate the manifesting idea. I think people who are just like I get it, but I think the whole like I'm gonna manifest this by thinking about it. No, go do it. Go do it. Take the
Yeah.
risk. Take the move because it's like life's scary. But if you sit back and just be like, it's gonna happen to me, it's not gonna happen. You
Right.
have to take those risks. And I think that was like you said, the criticism didn't necessarily come from even direct people. It was just like you'd explain your job to somebody and they go, hmm.
Yeah.
Just like a half nod, and you're like, oh, okay, so you don't really care about what I'm
Yeah.
doing at all.
Yeah.
Like it just a couple of my I would say like family friends very much heard that, and it's like I think the thing that kind of sounds bad, but the thing that kind of shut them all up and were like, okay, he's legitimate, was the first LAN I ever did. Seeing
Yeah.
me in person, somebody flew me to Atlanta
Mhm.
to go do this. Yeah, that's where they all were like,
Yeah.
okay,
I
this
get
is
it.
real. This is
Yeah.
not nonsense. It's
Yeah.
not just a video cam in his room that he's getting paid
Yeah.
whatever number it is. They flew him out and want him in person here over everybody else around. That was when it kind of all clicked. And I mean, I get the skepticism. I
Yeah.
100% get
Yeah.
people who are skeptical about this because it's the same thing as saying you want to be an artist. I want to go make a band
Yeah.
that makes it in
Yeah.
Hollywood. It's not always going to happen,
Mhm.
and I'm grateful it did to me. It's the best way I can really put it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's actually a great comparison. I think that is very similar to like today's version of artists or actor, entertainer
Mhm.
in some form. It's just through a new medium. Well, Bash, we've been going for a little over an hour here.
We keep
So
going too. I know that. I know.
yeah,
Wait,
we
what?
definitely could. We could go all night, I'm sure. But I do like asking this question as we wind things down. Um, is there anything that's been on your mind? Anything that you would like to say to everyone? And it could be about Rocket League. It could be about your career. It could be about life. It could be about whatever you so desire. But the floor is yours. And if not, then we could go ahead and close things up.
I appreciate it. I mean, honestly, I'm gonna echo most of the sentiments that the other creators that have been on here have said. I've known Fear for a very long time. The Fear 500 you guys talked about his first event, I actually
Yeah.
helped him work on that. You and I actually, I think that's, I don't want to say that's where we met. I think we met through something similar to that beforehand. It was like another creator event or something similar.
Yeah.
But like what he's talking about, what Nito's talking about, what Riz is talking about, with that sort of like take a risk. It
Hmm.
sucks. It's gonna hurt, and you probably will fall on your face. But if you have faith in yourself and if you have that understanding that this is gonna go well, and again, I wanna preface this. You're not all gonna make it. Not everybody's gonna be able to do these insane careers. Not everybody's gonna have to be able to use their creative outlets. But if you are a person who is creative and who has greater ambitions outside of what you do now, which if you don't, that's perfectly fine.
That's right.
Normal jobs, normal people are necessary to the world we live in, and I know a lot of people who are extremely fulfilled doing jobs like that and doing things like that. But if you are a creative who wants to get into a space like this, who you look at, myself, Hootie, whoever it might be, and go, I want to take that risk, I want to be that person. If you get some momentum, even a little bit at the beginning, take it. Because I live by a mentality that I think a lot of other people have spoken about here. And it's again something I hinted and alluded to before with my father talking about, make your own luck, take an opportunity
Yeah.
to take those advantages. It's the basic idea that this is a paraphrasing of Bill Burr. Bill Burr's kind of lost his mind nowadays. But back then when he said this, it very much hit home, which is that I don't want to be. Would you rather be a guy who is broken in his 20s, but doing the your most favorite thing ever,
Yeah.
whatever it might be? For him, comedy. For me, casting. Something that is fulfilling. You feel like you're doing something that you're meant to be doing. Or would you rather be a guy who's like 45 years old, you've had a very normal life, and you wake up one day and go, "Crap, I missed out, and I didn't even try." It's not that you didn't accomplish it; it's that you never tried, and you will never know if it was worth it for you to have tried. So for everybody out there who I think that, they're kind of on the fence about this, take the risk. even if it doesn't work out, you're going to learn something along the way. I've met a million
right.
people who are in esports who started off in one career and then very much pivoted to another. My old roommate Ignited, very much the same way. He started off as an esports manager and was working with teams in the bubble scene of RLCS. Now he observes for RLCS and has worked the last major as one of the behind the scenes guys. Life works in weird ways,
Yeah.
and if you have passion about something, throw your everything at it. Even if it doesn't work out, it may lead you to something else. And that's the only reason I'm here today. COVID forced me inside. I said I might as well pick up Twitch streaming again. Found Johnny Boy and found Sunless Khan pitching for a league called IGL. Went, all right, let's try it. And 2.5 years later, 3 years later almost, it's my full-time career. Take the risk. It's worth it. I promise you.
I love that. I love it. I couldn't have said it better myself. Believe in yourself and just follow your passions. The follow your dreams thing. I like it, but I think more accurately, or in my opinion, maybe a better way to do it is just follow your passion. Something that you love to do, something you like, you find fulfilling. I think, Bass, is what you said. You can't go wrong there. At the very least, give it a shot. So, wise words from the old boomer Bass.
Oh, I knew it. You had to call me grandpa at least once. Yeah, you had to do it. You had to be like the whippersnappers, if you will. Yeah, that's fair. It's fair.
Well, man, thank you so much for joining me. This was a fantastic conversation, as it always is with you. Y'all, if you don't know Bass, go follow him on Twitter. Go follow him on Twitch. He streams, and you'll see him on the RLCS broadcast as well. Bass, again, thank you for taking some time to chat with me, and we will catch you all on the next episode.